He probably thinks I'm wacko for recording everything. No, just kidding. He's gonna watch it later and tell me how bad my English was.
I haven't watched any of your videos since you left.
I'm so offended. I think I'm gonna quit. Hey guys, welcome back to Agwadama. I am back at work and we are servicing pivots today. So it's I don't know if it's very windy outside, but the stuff I already recorded, the audio might have been a little messed up. So I didn't explain anything while I was doing it mostly. I just did it. So I'll probably have a voiceover. So, I'll just tell you guys what I'm doing while I'm doing it and hope you learn something. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. The first step in taking care of your pivots, and we service them just like you service your tractors and everything else, is the center tower pivot, the literal pivot where it pivots. And we're gonna grease up the zerks up there and then take this filter out, the screen, and then we're gonna blow off the control panel. And then there's a bolt, a plug that goes in there somewhere, and then a little cord that attaches. So we're gonna get it figured out. Brayden did this stuff last time on so this is the second pivot for today. And Brayden did it on the first one, so I guess I'm going to, I don't even know where this stuff is. Fueled by mots. These are the stuff. So I greased the zerks first. I really like greasing. And I clean off the zerks with a shop rag first because you don't want to push dirt into the zerk. And then you can grease it. You got to take this thing off. And this pipe looking screen thing is called a dragon filter, and it gets a bunch of silt, sand, rocks, whatever caught up in it. So at the end of the season, that all just sits in there and you got to kick it out or tap it out, whatever. Just get it out and then you put it back in. That's all there is to it. And then you blow off the control panel just for a matter of like cleanliness. There's a lot of spider webs that get up in there. I don't like spiders. That squeaking is probably my fault. Why is it squeaking like that? Oh, I wasn't off the clutch all the way. Yikes. So the first thing I do when I get to a tower is do all the air stuff. So we got to put air in the tires. We got to blow off the gearboxes and the wheels right there. And then we have to blow off whatever you call that. It has electricity in it. Don't touch it. And here's our little setup. This goes in the Zematic pivots. That is our dirty oil bucket. These are both clean 80/90. And then we have our tool bucket. So there's a wrench in there, a little hammer, whatever you call that. It's like an Allen wrench, but it's not. And then that's for blowing off the top. This is for the valley pivot center. It's just easier to squeeze out of that, but it's the same thing as in those buckets. And that's for your tires. And this is also for your tires, the little pressure PSI gauge is right there. That is for blowing off your gearboxes. And then a wrench. I use this wrench because it has more leverage. This is for your bleeder hole. The Zematic pivots don't have one, but the Valley pivots do. And then wire brush to clean the bleeder hole area off before, so that you don't get a bunch of dirt in it. Also rags, because I get very messy, but also, you know, just to have them. Air compressor, hose, a gas tank for the air compressor, grease gun that you only use on the center tower. You just let the hose dry because we don't drive fast through the field. You can't really drive fast because the oil's back here and bumps around. That's why we have floor dry back here, because it bumped around too much yesterday. So we also have a little funnel somewhere for the centers of the Zematics. So it's a lot, but it's all back here because you never know what you're gonna need. And sure this is a very flattering angle, but you never know what you're gonna need. There's probably more stuff that we could have on this, but this covers the gist of what we need. So you blow this off because, again, there's a lot of like flies, dead stuff, dirt that's just sat in there all winter. So blow it off, get it nice and clean. This is why you don't touch it. Even though it's not on right now, it's a good habit to be in. So don't touch it. The tires need 20 PSI. This thing is fancy and I really hope I'm using it right, but there's a little like bubble in it that tells you the PSI, because the other PSI thing we were using this morning wasn't quite working. Where did I just put that cap? Is it on my phone? It is. So, if you've been around for a minute, you'll know that this is a gearbox. Well, maybe you don't know, and it's okay that you don't know. But I was taking these apart the first day or two that I started working here. So this is what they look like. I'm gonna see if there's any oil in there. I don't think so. We might have to put some more oil in it, because when you take the check plug out, there's supposed to be some like sitting right there, but there's not. Even when I stick my finger in there, there's nothing coming out. So I'm gonna check the drain plug. But yeah, that is where it connects to the tire. And if you want to see these get taken apart, it'll be down my page a couple videos, or I'll try to link it in this video so you guys can watch that and see what is inside of this big ol' thingy. Oh, that's good. Oh, I caught it that time instead of letting it pop out. Here we go. I'll show you on the next one what it looks like when there's water in it. So the water can also change the color of the oil. So when we check the oil on these, we're looking for color differences. So when it's super white, or like creamy color, like coffee creamer almost, if that's what coffee creamer looks like, that means there's water in it, so it needs to get changed. Like some levels of white will be fine, but this stuff is nice and dark, so we're good. Also, it's gear oil, so if any of you guys know what gear oil smells like, I'm gonna smell like that for the rest of the day. Just for the sake of showing you real quick, I'm just gonna pop that in there, and then you're just gonna pump this. You can see the oil moving. Oh yeah. She's getting a nice little drink. And then when that starts outflowing again, that's when you know it's full. So you can see a little bit of water up in there. That's water. That's water still. It's kind of pouring out there. Oh, and there's the oil. So that oil looks good. It's not white like we don't like. Wipe that down there. You just screw her back on. So other than the gearboxes, there's also the center drive, I believe is what they call it officially for the Pivot, and that is what I am trying to check oil on in this video. So that's what you need the Allen head socket, I think is what they call it for. It's to tap it in there so you can loosen it, because they got too tight when they got serviced last, so that's why we get the Allen head socket in there. Hopefully that's what you call it. And then you just check the oil like the gearboxes. If it's bad, then you change it, and if it needs filled, then you fill it. Then for this, take this, put it in your pocket. But there's a little hole right there. You can't really see right now, but I'm gonna brush that off. And then get our little tool. Took the drain plug off of this center right here, and you can see it's white, but I'm not sure how white it is, so I'm just gonna take a little swab of it on my finger and to go check it compared to the bucket of stuff that I already know we needed to change. So that oil gets white like that when water gets in it, and then it just, you know, causes that color change. So there you go, little agriculture artwork, like when you put your little coffee stuff in. That's basically all it is. No. That pivot that I was working on is done. Snack break, oatmeal cream pie. I already had a Capri Sun. We're gonna put some more oil in this bucket so we don't have to get all the way out to the pivot and then be out of oil. It's been a day. I switched from Valley to Zematic pivots, and on Zematic pivots, the check plug for the gearboxes is on the top, so the oil doesn't need to come out of the check plug. You just need to be able to cover up the worm gear that's in there, and I saw there's a little spot right in there. You can kind of see the worm gear, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my gearboxes video. But we're just gonna stick this in there and pump her up. Yeah, so there's a big gear in there that turns and it just needs to be covered. So we're good to go. I'm coming back to this tower I was working on earlier. Well, this pivot I was working on earlier, because I started checking the gearboxes with my flashlight, and they had low oil. So these 4 that I didn't check, gotta come back and check them. And since they're on the top, they don't, the worm gear has to be covered, like I said, but since they're on the top, it's hard to see without the flashlight, because there's oil in there, but it doesn't look like the worm gear is poking out. So I'm just gonna double check just in case, because I'd rather not get in trouble. Not that I'd get in trouble, but like I said earlier, oil is easier to replace than gearboxes. And another handy thing, so when we take notes, we have to keep everything straight. So if everyone's on the same page about which gearbox is which, that helps a lot. So this little spiel I'm about to give you is just control, copy, paste from what my boss told me yesterday, okay? Because he's a smart guy. And so the pivot, when it's facing north, north is always 0. This is just what he told me. I can't remember. Okay, so it's facing north, that means 0. And so the gearbox on the right side is the front gearbox, and the gearbox on the left side is the rear gearbox. So when we write it down, I just had to put oil in the front gearbox, and I wrote it down, oil in front gearbox. There's probably another word I should have wrote down for that, but then we know like left or right, yada yada yada. And we always start counting the towers from the center. So from the center, that's tower 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just some handy little things to keep it straight. There's probably a lot of people that do that. I don't know how common that is. Maybe I just gave out my boss's secrets. Okay, after that is all done, we're gonna take this little notepad here. We're gonna write down what we did to the pivot. So, well, the tower, not every pivot, but every tower. And every tower is the 2 wheels, 2 tires, 2 gearboxes, a center. The electric thingy, my boss is gonna watch this and be like, bro, it's called this. So I didn't do anything to the first tower, so I'm just gonna write down all good. And then the second tower, we added oil to the center. And this one is a newer pivot, so my boss told me it shouldn't take as long, but yesterday, the ones that I filmed yesterday were pretty bad, and it made me want to cry. I didn't kill the truck. What is that? So you keep records, keep it clean, because, you know, it's easier to replace gearbox oil than it is to replace a whole gearbox. Well, cheaper anyway, so that's why we service things. It's a lot like cleaning tractors, you know, and get the dirt off so it doesn't eat it. Not eat it, but like, it just, you gotta take care of your stuff if you want it to last and stick around for you. So that's why we do this. And they put on a lot of hours. Like, this is how we take care of our crops. And that's why we do what we do. Okay guys, that is it for servicing pivots. I'm probably gonna be doing this for a little bit. I have no idea how long, but stay tuned. Check me out on all the other platforms. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because it helps me out and it helps you out. So we'll catch you on the next video. Until then, hasta la pasta.